Electoral politics is decoy revolution. Don't like the status quo? Elect Obama for hope and change. Still dislike the status quo? Elect Trump. He'll fight the establishment. Oh no, Trump's a fascist. Quick, fight fascism by electing Biden. And you elect the status quo each time. You'll know if you've been following this channel for a while that I've made the strong case for Biden being a fascist as well. I've discovered Marley Kay on Twitter and on Medium. She's a writer of intelligent black thoughts, pro-black and anti-racist. Unvarnished truths on racism and white people are spoken here. You'll soon discover this is the case. Submit and be rewarded by white supremacy, the dilemma for all black politicians in America. Obama was rewarded dearly for adhering to racist institutional constraints during his white supremacy presidency. So if you haven't figured it out by now, you better strap in because you're going to hear the unvarnished truth. Every black politician running for public office has two decisions to make before they even decide to run. First, they must decide if they are going to submit to white supremacy and do the business of white people. Secondly, depending on the district, they must determine if they will resist white supremacy and have multiple agendas to serve all the constituents in their districts, understanding the needs are different, so the representation may be different. Most black politicians choose the path of least resistance. They submit to white supremacy in order to avoid losing, or worse, death, which leads me to President Obama, the great black nope for black people. President Obama finally admitted what black folks already knew. White supremacy prevented him from advocating for black people. I'll break in here and say that Jimmy Dore has made this case many times. Obama alleges he was constrained by institutions from speaking out on issues concerning the extermination of black men by police in America. Even though I knew it, it still hurt like hell to hear him say it. He'd let us die so he could live. Ain't that about a bitch? What kind of black leader does this? What kind of any leader? All the leaders. I don't know why the great black nope won't just go away and let us black folks lick our wounds so we can heal from his disastrous presidency. President Obama set us back almost 100 years during his anti-black, tokenized, place-holding administration. He keeps coming out with these useless statements when it comes to black people, letting us know in no uncertain terms he was never in office to serve the interests of black people, pulling the scabs off our never-healing wounds and pouring salt in them. If we didn't know he was the white man's president, his most recent statement proves it. According to Politico, Obama said, he often felt limited by institutional constraints that kept him from commenting on federal investigations into certain killings, including of the black teenagers Trayvon Martin and Michael Brown. Let's be clear. What Obama said was code for he didn't, wouldn't, and couldn't piss off white people. Those old institutional constraints he was referring to are nothing more than the slave shackles of white supremacy on his presidency, preventing him from lifting the veil on systematic and institutional racism. President Obama confirmed to black people able to see through his catchy slogans and empty promises he was white supremacy's black puppet. His revelation proved white people and their white power are the real puppet masters in this republic. We don't have a democracy. We live under white rule. For all you I voted for Obama twice white liberals, this is why it doesn't matter if black people run for office or even if they win most times. The truth of the matter is that black candidates holding public office will always be forced to maintain the dominant group's racist societal frameworks and conduct white people's business. Western civilization is a white civilization. America is a white nation. Everything in America is centered around white people, white feelings, and white comfort. Let me pause here for a moment and say that if Bernie Sanders' name is inserted, the truth of the matter is that black candidates and Bernie Sanders holding public office will always be forced to maintain the dominant group's racist societal frameworks and conduct white people's business. Had Bernie been elected, the business he would have conducted was hegemony and imperialism. And yes, whether you like to hear it or not, that is white people's business. Back to the story. Obama knows it. He always knew it. This was his way of letting us know. But why say it now? That's something he could have taken to his grave. Obama was groomed to be a gatekeeper for white supremacy. Obama's mother was white. His maternal grandparents were white. I'm sure they polished him so he wouldn't be too black. His parents attended predominantly white institutions. Obama himself attended Harvard, like so many rich and powerful politicians and businessmen. Harvard is just one of the white supremacy pipelines for elitist whites. It's one of the largest groomers of professional gatekeepers and teachers of white supremacy. He grew up in spaces where folks with privilege frequent. He hung out with some of the wealthiest white people in the world today while at Harvard. Obama was groomed to be the favorite kind of black person white people love. The kind of black person who would do the bidding of whites with a smile as long as he got his rewards. He didn't become a community activist until he was ready to run for office, just like many white politicians switching from the private to the public sectors. Instead of resisting white supremacy to liberate us, Obama chose to submit to the dominant group and was rewarded for it just like all the other conquered black snakes. In doing so, he placed us in this precarious situation we're in today. As a reward, he got his multi-million-dollar book deal, the largest book deal ever offered for a presidential memoir because publishers knew they'd get their money back out of black consumers. The Obamas aren't just people, they are a whole brand now they are out of the public realm. With his rewards for obeying the institutional constraints of white supremacy, the great black nope was able to buy his new house in Martha's Vineyard and all the other luxuries rich white civilizations award their black and brown submissive tokens for misleading black folks in particular. The moral of the story here is submitting to the dominant group pays. Obama is like a Category 5 hurricane named Barack that came into our lives 12 years ago, destroying any and all progress we made before he ever came onto the scene. And although he's gone now, we can see the damage done from his lack of preparing us for what was about to come. He just won't ride off into the sunset and be quiet. He keeps peeking his head out of the land of milk and honey to give a few words about some things a large number of us don't even care about at this point. Black folks' hair is on fire, and he has no water to put that fire out, even though he's technically free from institutional constraints. At least G.W. Bush had enough sense after his presidency ended to know how bad he'd fucked up. Bush went to his ranch to sit his ass down in a crack and meditate on the meaning of life. Obama doesn't even have the decency to do black folks a solid. He is the epitome of the one white friend who loves white supremacy more than he loves himself, even though white supremacy showed him long ago he'll never belong to their silly little club. He's chosen to take his little rewards, yet holding on. We literally have no friends. Obama's cherry-picking victims of crimes to preserve white comfort was one of the most disrespectful displays of anti-blackness I've ever seen from a liberal black Democratic politician. He was free and safe to comment on wealthy, predominantly white children killed in an elementary school by a white man, but heavens forbid he showed some empathy and compassion for black young men mowed down in the streets by white police employed by the government. Police officers do the bidding of federal, state, and local governments, or addressing the nation's long history of anti-blackness, white supremacy, and police exterminating black people specifically. Speaking out was considered interference in federal investigations. Investigations that often never led to any charges, I might add. He also promised police reform that went absolutely nowhere. Tell me lies, darling, sweet little lies. I can recall when the Charleston church shooting happened at Mother Emanuel in Charleston, South Carolina. I was waiting desperately for Obama to go off on America like the rest of black folks were. Black folks were tired of white supremacy here in the South. We were in the heat of the Confederacy dealing with the Tea Party as well. On top of all this, South Carolina, where the shooting took place, had a racist history that played a role in the shooting. But Obama, a constitutional law scholar, wouldn't go there. He left us hanging. As usual, he took the path of least resistance, the path of submission. The one time we've ever had a black person holding the highest office in the land to speak up on our behalf nationally, the black person with all the power chose to do the same thing most white folks do when it comes to black lives. He minimized the moment so not to offend white supremacy. Obama preached the let's come together shuffle so we can do the moving on slide, and while he moved us from black crisis to black crisis, he never provided Black America any real solutions for dealing with racial injustice, racial discrimination, and white supremacy. Obama didn't do us justice. He didn't end white supremacy. Obama didn't even stand up for us. Every time he got the ball, his scary jellyback fumbled it. There is nothing worse to me than a black man who will not protect his own people. Obama proved he really wasn't one of us long ago, but this latest comment solidified it. Why does the black community in particular have such a plethora of these misfit island politicians? Why are our people in power broken, or they simply don't work? We don't want or need this in our lives. If we have another chance to pick black leaders, we must ensure we pick leaders that will do us justice, even if they don't win. It's time to vote for what we need instead of what America needs. Let me break in here and say that that's true, but by voting for what black people need, we'll also be voting for what poor people need, and that's what Martin Luther King was killed for. If black people unite with poor people and other people of color, there's a chance. And I also have to say that we can't vote for what we need. We have to be activists and demand what we need, as Frederick Douglass told us. Back to the story. President Obama made a conscious decision to protect his brand, legacy, current and future bank account when it was clear black folks were getting killed, our asses kicked, heads bashed, fired, defunded, and getting our rights taken by the dominant group. Still to this day, Obama refuses to wade in on issues of race, white supremacy, or the plight of blacks. And when he does, it's always some white folks bootstrapping, work hard, Ivy League, disconnected from reality bullshit message. Obama is like so many black immigrants and black biracial folks who grow up with white parents centering whiteness. They're anti-black as they want to be. They claim black privilege when they need us. They tuck us away after they've gotten what they need from us. We are used and abused. Black folks are always viewed as collateral damage. White supremacy selects its token blacks and places them in strategic positions to sing and dance a jig, making us feel good about not getting anything. Black folks like President Obama and Vice President Harris don't even have to offer us anything. How is change, hope, and for the people doing anything to solve the problems of racism, white supremacy, inequity, and justice? Both Obama and Harris's presidential campaign slogans offered black folks nothing in the way of dismantling, justice, repair, restoring, or evening the playing field. But at least we have representation, right? Wrong. I guess black people are supposed to hope white people change for the people. Politics is about business, and we black folks voted for Obama because we expected him to do some business on our behalf. We were not expecting to have all of our issues redressed with America all at once by the first black president because we know the list is too long and we knew white folks wouldn't go for that, but we did have an expectation that Obama would protect us and represent us in a way that was meaningful to us. Black people had the same expectation a black representative would represent their interests in the way white people have always expected white politicians to represent white folks' interests. That didn't happen. That alleged institutional constraint is nothing more than institutional racism. Obama did nothing to alleviate the suffering of black people despite using us for personal gain to get him elected, not once, but twice. As usual, we voted and white folks benefited, especially the Asian American and Pacific Islander, AAPI, LGBTQ, and white feminist communities. Let me leap in here and say that I agree with this. I'm not sad that Asian American and Pacific Islanders, LGBTQ, and white feminists benefited, but it's still true that the feet of clay underneath everything are financial constraints. And if we had worked together to solve those, then all of the communities would have risen, especially black people's. And I will also say, while I'm stopped here, that the Lilly Ledbetter Act was legislation designed to improve economic issues for women, and improving economic issues for women also would have helped everyone else. In the article she linked to, it says, "So signing this bill today is to send a clear message that making our economy work means making sure it works for everybody, that there are no second-class citizens in our workplace, And that it's not just unfair and illegal, it's bad for business to pay somebody less because of their gender or their age or their race or their ethnicity, religion, or disability, and that justice isn't about some abstract legal theory or footnote in a casebook. It's about how our laws affect the daily lives and the daily realities of people, their ability to make a living and care for their families and achieve their goals. The problem apparently with this act is that it didn't have any teeth to do anything real economically. More incremental lip service, apparently. Back to the story. The first bill Obama signed was the Lilly Ledbetter Act, legislation that lets you know who and what his priorities were. All we got were acts and legislation telling us our black and brown boys needed mentoring, our black fathers were absent and irresponsible, and the liberal white folks oldie but goodie ex-offender re-entry because black men are overrepresented in the prison system. None of these things addressed inequity, racism, or white supremacy. Obama helped further white supremacy's cause of non-justice. I'll break back in and say that we all need to read up on the Lilly Ledbetter Act if we don't know what it is, and I don't. Back to the story. The more I look back at Obama's presidency, the more I understand how much time and energy we wasted in the great black nope. The more I hear that man speak, the more he shows me how little of a connection he had to African American black folks, especially those of us in the South who are descendants of American slavery. Obama is a charismatic coward. He's the white folks' lapdog and an anvil around African American black folks' necks. A bunch of y'all don't know it yet, but you'll learn soon enough. Just keep fooling around with the Democratic Party. And I have to say, all dreams die in the Democratic Party. And this is the best point in the whole article. If we're going to unite behind economic justice, then don't keep fooling around with the Democratic Party. Back to the story. We must regrettably admit the man was never about ending white supremacy, racism, or getting us justice. Obama was a waste of black folks' time. And he also was a waste of poor folks' time. The biggest issue that isn't being addressed here is who the real enemy is. We need to understand that the enemy isn't white people in general, it's comfy people, which includes people of color. There are a lot of comfy people, including Barack Obama, who are people of color. We need to figure this out. So the real enemy is people who are comfy. Obama used the same old playbook the Democratic Party always uses, get the blacks to further the white agenda, except it hurts more because a black person was doing the sticking of the knives in our backs. He didn't even bother to pull them out on his way out of the door. I know a lot of black people still love Obama, but I don't know why. We hang on to bad political marriages like ants scavenge droplets of sugary fluid from cut sugar cane. Maybe it's the beautiful imagery of the white American dream the Obama family portrays. Maybe it's because black folks connect with his stories about living in poverty with his mother. It could be because he has an Ivy League education and he's a great orator. Maybe it's because he attended a black church or because he's black. Maybe it's because he tricked us and was able to beat the Republicans at their own shenanigans to become the first black president. I don't know the reason my people love him so, but what I do know is that when he has the opportunity to do the right thing, he doesn't and he won't. Even though this is controversial, I have to say it over and over again. It's not really about race. It's really about class. And the greatest leaders of black people understood this. Both Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. were killed because they understood this. And we need to understand it too, whatever color we are. When he has the opportunity to take a stand, he sits down. When he has an opportunity to use his bully pulpit to speak up for black people, he's silent. And when he has the opportunity to advocate on behalf of black men and boys, he'll act just like a white man. He'll turn the other way. Obama's riding in the middle of the road ass will let you down every single time. I'll be glad when President Obama, the great black nope, goes off into the white people's sunset to be just another rich, powerful, silent black man absent from our civil rights movements, like Michael Jordan, the shoe mogul and former professional basketball player, or the late Vernon Jordan, former advisor to President Bill Clinton. As far as I'm concerned, Obama is busted, disgusted, and he damn sure ain't to be trusted. With blacks like these, who needs enemies? Marley K, 2021. So if you aren't already following Marley K on Medium, I would recommend you do so, and also find her on Twitter. At the bottom of this article, which I'll link to in the show notes, you can see all of the links you need to follow Marley K. I also recommend hitting the clap button at the bottom of the article. I haven't refreshed this page for a bit, but if I look at my teleprompter, it says 1.3K claps as opposed to 984, so I would just add a few if I were you. And I just put, it doesn't say how many are really there. If I refresh the page, it'll say 1.3K. Lastly, I want to thank you for putting up with my sketchy schedule, and I hope to get back in the groove again as we get into the rest of the summer.